you got to pay for premium to like upload a intro, don't you?
We have it already.
Oh,
Yeah, so we're good. What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to Vinny's Corner. I'm your host, Vinny, and this is my co-host, Cove Blue, as we're going by this week. Not saying the White Sox sucks. Okay, so hopefully everybody has had a wonderful day, a good week so far. I'm just sharing this stuff on the socials for everybody. We're going to get into some fight reactions, because very obviously the fights this week were a little less than perfect, as a lot of you have heard. So I will be sharing my opinions on that stuff. And then from there, we're going to talk a little bit NBA, NHL playoffs. I'll give you the rundown on the fight schedule for this week. And of course, Coves questions will cover NHL playoffs and, more importantly, Major League Baseball. That time of year, guys. So, you know the deal. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in tonight. And welcome to Vinny's Corner. So, last weekend, we had the return of a few different fighters. We had Ryan Garcia, fresh off a 1-year suspension from performance-enhancing drugs, specifically a drug called Ostarine. Abysmal. So, I know usually I jump on ready to talk about how much I love boxing to you guys. What a terrible weekend of boxing it was. Well, at least Friday and Saturday. Let's say that much. Sunday was a different story. So, Friday night, Ryan Garcia had an opportunity to win the WBA 140-pound title, junior welterweight, and he was fighting Rolando Rolly Romero. Unfortunately for him, what a lot of people are saying, I don't know if it's true or not, it could be ring rust for a year off, but he looked like a completely different man than the guy who fought Devin Haney. So, I don't know, you call it ring rust, maybe it's lack of performance enhancement, but he looked terrible. Rolly had a game plan. He executed wonderfully. He is now the 140-pound WBA champion. The next fight up on that card was Devin Haney against Jose Ramirez. Some people actually thought Jose Ramirez won that fight. I would say Devin probably did, but with that being said, Devin basically spent his entire time running around the ring. It really wasn't an impressive return for him. He spent some of his off time working with greats like Sugar Shane Mosley, actually working on his power, allegedly. He was bigger, looked more confident when he stepped into the ring, but once he got in there, it seemed like he still had shell shock from the incident last year with Ryan Garcia. So that's 2 fights, not too amazing. The third match on this is the Times Square card, mind you guys, right? So this was like an epic first-time event, something that you've never seen before, something we may never see again in actual fact. But with that being said, Teofimo Lopez, champion, the ring champion, WBC champion. So he's been a unified champion. He's moved through weight classes. Teofimo is on his way to the Hall of Fame. He was giving a shot to undefeated interim champ Arnold Barboza from Golden Boy. Excuse me, I got to grab my drink. Yeah, we need that seltzer. in the mix. So, as I was saying, Teofimo was fighting Arnold Barboza. Now, Teo actually looked pretty great overall. He was pretty much untouchable the whole fight. Exactly kind of what I expected. Barboza did his best to get at him, but he really had a tough time. But where a lot of people felt Teo should have went for the stoppage, he did not. It was a little disappointing, to say the very least. So that did go to decision, but it was an 11-1 round. Like, he maybe lost 1 round in the fight. But this card was extremely uneventful for a Times Square card and for the level of hype that was built up around it. So the ring, in my opinion, gets an F on that card. The worst part about it was that they didn't have regular fans in there. There was media and then like boxing grades, and that's it. And, you do an event like Times Square, you could do this a lot better. So just one New Yorker's opinion, they bombed that. The fights were terrible, very, very uneventful. So this brings me to Saturday. A lot of you probably tuned in. Some of you did not, but I'm sure you heard. It was the return of Canelo Alvarez. So this time last year when Canelo was fighting, he didn't want to fight against a guy named William Skull, who was the mandatory challenger. So what he did is he vacated that belt. Now, William Skull ultimately won that belt over, the IBF title. So Canelo walked in as the WBA, the WBO, and the WBC champ, and the ring champ, and the IBF champ was William Skull, this Cuban guy, right? I know he doesn't sound Cuban, but when you hear him talk, he definitely is. So Cubans are known for their footwork and for a lot of movement, and that was exactly what the fight was. It was a lot of movement. It was a lot of running around. Canelo's the kind of guy who wants to fight somebody who stands in the middle of the ring and trades, and he wants more of a close quarters kind of fight. We definitely didn't get that. It went to decision. It was a clear decision for Canelo, but there was only something like 245 punches thrown the entire 12 rounds between two fighters. That's terrible. That's like an average of 10 punches a round. Definitely not an exciting fight. So overall, the first two cards of the weekend got a big fat F. Thankfully, the man to save the Cinco de Mayo weekend boxing was Sunday night, and the entire card was great. I'm not gonna bore you guys with every fight, but Naoya Inoue, the monster as he's known from Japan, returned to America for his first time in 5 years to fight. He got knocked down in fighting Ramon Cardenas. He got knocked down in the second round by a left hook. He has been hit by those lefts in a couple of fights, and that's always how he's gone down. Nonito Donaire caught him with one of those. So did Luis Neri. So this wasn't like a crazy thing to see. What's amazing is the man's resilience and how he bounces back from these things. So he bounced back. He put the work on Ramon Cardenas, and from that point, it was his fight. It was stopped, bit of an early stoppage in the 8th round, but overall, that was the fight of the weekend. So now coming up this weekend, guys, we've got lightweight. We've got excuse me, I can't talk. But El Vaquero, Emmanuel Navarrete, he's fighting this weekend against Charlie Suarez, and Ray Mortaya is also fighting again for the interim lightweight against Zar Abdullah. So those two fights are on. And then last but not least, you got Anthony Kakachi, known as the Apache. He's putting his belt on the line against Lee Wood. So there are a few boxing matches on this weekend. More importantly, this weekend for me, UFC's got a pretty solid card. Bilal Muhammad returns, putting his belt on the line against Jack Della Manana. I forget but it's Della something, right? So against Jack, right? But really, the fight I'm looking forward to is the co-main event. Valentina Shevchenko returns against Manon Ferrot from France. And then Jose Aldo is going to be on this card too. And who doesn't love a good Jose Aldo fight? So Jose Aldo is going to be fighting against Ayman. What's this guy's name? Ayman Zubaira, maybe? But, so the return of this guy, it should be a decent card. I'm fairly excited for it. I'll definitely be watching UFC this weekend. Tune in. Bilal's a good champion. Can be a little boring sometimes, but Bilal's got he's got crazy stamina. He's got crazy training, so it should be good to watch, for sure. So now kind of to just jump into the things that we do talk about most, right? We've got some questions here from Cove on NHL, so we'll jump right into those, and then we'll segue over to the NBA. As you guys know, my Knicks are playing the Celtics tonight. It's a close game, but we have not had the lead at all thus far this evening. So, we'll see what happens. So what do we got, Cove? I know that we've had a pretty exciting NHL. The Golden Knights, my Golden Knights dropped the ball last night. They were up 2-0. They gave up 4 goals from that point. It's pretty tough. Pretty tough loss to start the second round against Skinner and the Oilers. I don't think anyone besides people from Edmonton like the Oilers. Right? So,
Yeah.
So we have some questions, for NHL?
You'll have to read them off because I don't have them. I can only do when I'm here. I can only be live. I can't see. That's why I sent them to you.
I gotcha. I gotcha. So actually, this is kind of interesting. So one of the things, okay, let me throw this up here. One of the things right off bat, and I actually wanted to just touch on this because it happened today, and I'm curious to know what people's thoughts are on it. So the Utah Hockey Club has decided on their mascot, their logo. They are the Utah Mammoth, right? So what do you think about that, Cove?
I'm excited about it. Like I asked the girlfriend what she was like. Eh. I'm like, that's such a girl answer, and the way I said it was because I'm like mammoth. They're like, it's cool to me, but she did. She was like, it's different. She said it was different, but I was like, I like it because it's different than what you traditionally get the hockey team. And I was telling her the story where I heard this one. I don't know if you heard this one, but the reason why they didn't get the Yeti was because Yeti coolers did not want to have a partnership with them. Apparently.
Which is surprising, right? You know, you get a whole new fan base for your products with that, but it's okay.
So they had to stick with Yeti.
So I was hoping that they would go with the Outlaws, if I'm being honest. I like
Yeah.
that. And, like, you know, Utah is a part of the wild west of old heritage, old American heritage. So I thought that would have been really cool. But so, you know, I got some information here that Cove sent my way, right? The name pays homage to the prehistoric mammoth, which clearly roamed the earth, you know, over 10,000 years ago. But notably the Huntington mammoth, which was discovered in 1998. So the mammoth is featured with snow-capped peaks symbolic of Wasatch Mountains and a tusk shaped like a U, integrating the local geography and the history of the team's identity, which overall is pretty cool stuff. So one of the things that you put out here, do you think that the color scheme is going to bring a memorable, I guess, distinctive presence to the NHL? How do you feel about the New Jerseys?
I kind of like them. They're very simple. They're very clean. They're very to the point. Like if you look at it, where you look at the last three expansion teams, the Golden Knights came out with very iconic jerseys, gold, red. They were very bold. They were out there, right? And Seattle, very sea. They went with a sea theme. Like they were very like close to home to what their jersey should have been. But I kind of do like the I don't know the color scheme because I like blue, obviously. But it's just like I just like the blue, the color blues that they've picked. I like the color scheme that they went with, and it's very neutral. It's like a very neutral color. Like it's just like
I think
it's not too dark, it's not too light, it's right in the middle.
so. What I like about it, I mean, they kept it classic, right? So I know they gave pretty names to it: salt white, rock black, mountain blue. Black and
Yeah.
white, you know, black's my favorite color. You can't go wrong with black and white when it comes to jerseys. And then you add that light blue to kind of like highlight it. And that light
Yeah.
blue gives you the option for like a really cool alternate. So I definitely
Yeah.
like it. You know, I think it's cool. The slogan, I guess, or the rally cry for them, Tusks Up, right? That's what they're going to go
Yeah.
with. So that'll be their hashtag next year, I guess. Um,
Uh-huh.
Makes sense, right? I got nothing. I got nothing against that, you know. So for me, I think that it sounds kind of cool overall. I'm excited for them to have an identity. You know, Utah
Yeah.
Hockey Club was like, you know, so
You can only go up from hockey club.
that's,
It's
you know what I mean. Like, I definitely don't see any issues with that. So just looking at today's questions and the direction that we're taking it, we got the Winnipeg Jets, the Maple Leafs, and the Oilers. Canada has a strong presence in the second round of the playoffs. Do you think, like, what are your thoughts on this? Is this a year that Canada brings the cup back up?
I mean it could be like if Edmonton can solve Winnipeg, and currently right now Toronto is kind of handling Florida. Like they won game one, and they're leading in the third period, going into game two. Toronto is kind of
Actually,
handling Florida right
Florida
now.
just tied it. It's 3-all.
Oh, oh, okay.
Yeah.
The last time
So
I checked, it was. But
Yeah, yeah.
I
Florida's
mean,
they're back in the mix.
yeah, they're back to the mix. But I do ironically have my Florida colors on for the Panthers. But just saying.
So it's kind of tough. You got in the East, you still got the Capitals and the Hurricanes. Both of those teams are very good hockey teams. That was actually a great game with them yesterday. Low
Mhm.
scoring game. What was it, 2-1? But it
Yeah,
was, really good defense played all game. Very physical. It was an enjoyable one to watch if you were able to tune in. Um,
and we got the Jets and the Stars starting out tonight.
the Maple Leafs just scored again, so now it's 4-3.
Hmm.
So the Maple Leafs are doing their thing. They could definitely it would be pretty cool to see actually. The Maple Leafs have a hard time, right? They've already made it to the second round, which just for the Maple Leafs is kind of a big deal already, right?
Yeah,
They're known as a first round fluke or a first round flounder. So it's interesting to see. They're leading in the third right now. It's 1-0 in the series. They're up. So you know, now moving on to the Winnipeg Jets, right? They are the 1 seed for a good reason on their side of things in their bracket. They're playing the Dallas Stars now. The Stars just went through a really tough series. They went 7 games with the Avs. What do you think? Can
but
the
so did
Jets
the Jets
defy them?
though. But the Jets went through a surprising 7-game series
That's a
with the
fact.
Blues, and they had
Mhm.
to go double OT to secure it. They the Jets had to score with 1.6 seconds left in Game 7 to make it go into overtime. So they were 2 seconds away from being eliminated.
Yeah, no, and
So,
so for me,
but Dallas, Dallas was down because I texted you that night. Dallas was down 2-0, and then Miko Rantanen just lit it up. Just bam, 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 3 goals. Like so,
it's an
both
interesting
teams came
series.
back.
That series starts tonight, I believe, in like an hour or so, or maybe in
Yeah,
might even be sooner, but it starts fairly soon. I think game one, oddly, I think game one might be at Dallas.
no, I think it's in Winnipeg.
Oh, it is. It is. It's just the way they had the bracket set up that I was looking at it. It was wrong.
Yeah,
It would make sense because Winnipeg's the 1 seed. Um,
yeah.
So here's my thing, right? The damage that the Blues were able to do, and honestly, Bennington put on a really good performance. He wasn't able to get them through, but then when you look at a team like the Stars are aggressive. They're really good and real quick goal scoring, and then they've got Ottinger in goal.
This
For
is going to be
me,
a very, very tight series. Both of them went game sevens. Both of them had to come back to win. So they both got something to prove. And I mean, like, the Jets got really something to prove. Like, Dallas has already won a cup. Dallas has already proven that they can be where they are. But Winnipeg, this has been a long time coming for Winnipeg to be where they're at. So they got really something to prove here, especially with this series.
I
Because
feel like
just saying, as we were just saying with the last question, if Edmonton can handle Vegas and Jets can handle, then we got Edmonton versus Winnipeg in the Western Conference Finals, and we haven't seen an all Canadian Western Conference Final in a forever.
I'm sticking with my original pick. I think Dallas will be able to handle it. I haven't.
Yeah,
Maybe I'm crazy, but I haven't been that impressed this playoff with Hellebuck at all.
yeah, but no, I was only saying if Winnipeg gets past and if Edmonton gets past, then we'll have an all Canadian Western Conference Final.
It's pretty
So
amazing that there's 3 Canadian teams still in there, to be honest. You know,
yeah.
but again, those are 3 of the best teams in hockey all season. So, Winnipeg was really the best team in the West pretty much the whole season, and the Maple Leafs were the best team, basically the best team in the East. So I'm not shocked by it, but again, what was I calling these guys? The Maple Leafs have historically, they're like the Brewers of hockey. They're a one and done
They're
in the
one and
playoffs.
done. Yeah.
Yeah. So, to see them out there doing their thing, it's been pretty cool so far. There's about 11 minutes left. We'll see if they can hold on to this lead and go, 2-0, right? It'll be tough for Florida to come back from a 2-0 deficit, but certainly not impossible. So, I guess we're going to see what happens there. Now, let's see what else we got here. The Jets clinched the President's Trophy with a franchise best 56-22-4, led by Kyle Connor and Connor Hellebuck. Can that translate into a deep playoff run? So kind of what we were talking about, it certainly could. I just think that
it could, but
it get back to regular season form.
Yeah. It's just who they play. It's just depending who they play. And Dallas is a solid team, but Dallas is beat up, just like Winnipeg is. So this is, like I said, this is a very, very tight series. Like I said, if the Winnipeg can get past Dallas, because you and I both had Dallas going past this round. So like if Winnipeg does get past this, they have a good shot at it because they've passed Winnipeg. Well, they played the Blues, but the Blues gave them a run for their money. Then they played Dallas. If they beat Dallas, then they're playing Edmonton or they're playing Vegas. So like they do have a legitimate shot.
So it's kind of interesting to say this, but as a Golden Knights fan, I almost prefer that if we get past Edmonton, I almost prefer to play the Jets. Now, maybe that's crazy, but I don't.
But
if Dallas gets to the West Coast Final, I don't think that they're getting stopped.
Yes, but now not against Vegas. Vegas would earn the right to be there. But let's go old school for a second. Wouldn't you love to see a Dallas versus Edmonton Western Conference Final? Because Dallas versus Edmonton series and in your lifetime, in my lifetime, were crazy.
Yeah, it's been good hockey for sure. I mean, listen, at the end of the day, I'm watching regardless because, I am. Oh, is this game over? Hold on a second. What's going on in this Knicks game? Give me a second here, guys. We got to see what's going on in the Knicks game. Very important.
Did you guys finally lose?
I think no. The Knicks won. Oh my God.
The Knicks won.
Oh my goodness. The Knicks are now. Okay, guys, we'll come back to hockey here in a minute. My New York Knicks are now 2-0 in the series. I missed the end of the game because I was talking with folks here. This is tremendous. I can't believe we just went into Boston and took game 1 and game 2. Let's fucking go. This is it.
Yeah, because last time I checked, they had an 18-point lead, but they also had a significant. Boston had a significant lead in game 1 too. So like,
unbelievable, literally unbelievable. This is one of the more exciting times to be a New York fan. Oh my God, I'm really like, wow. I can't even. I'm texting somebody Bing Bong as we speak because wow, dude, I'm just like, I'm so happy. I don't even know what to say. This is actually amazing. Hockey will be right back. This is a great time to talk some basketball. Let's see what dude, I can't. Wow. Okay, I got to see how this finished right here. This is literally unbelievable. Josh Hart with 23 points on the game, bro. Okay, so somebody said, this is the most amazing thing ever. Somebody said to me, actually, my guy Dravo, I don't know if he hears me right now, but he was like, there's no way that they're going to shoot that poor, the Celtics again, from three-pointer. The Celtics shot 25% again from the three-pointer, and they live and die by the three, and yet again they died. by the 3. Tremendous.
Yeah.
That's absolutely awesome. Like, fantastic news. I couldn't possibly be more excited right now. Really unbelievable. And then to follow up this game, so the Knicks now have a 2-0 lead, right? Both games away. So for fans that are NBA fans, kind of an amazing thing. This hasn't happened in a very long time, if ever. Every single away game so far in the second round of the playoffs has been won by the visitor. So Indiana is 2-0 at Cleveland. The Knicks are 2-0 at Boston. The Golden State Warriors are 1-0 at Timberwolves. And the Nuggets are 1-0. And the Nuggets are looking to make it 2-0 right now, or shortly here, against the Oklahoma City Thunder. So this has been like a super exciting NBA playoff. This is one of the best ones I've seen in a while. I mean, obviously I'm a Knicks fan, so I am pumped for it. I'm dude, it's I can't even believe it. Like, I looked up at the game and it was 85-87, and then we started talking about the Western Conference Final in hockey, and then I looked back up and I was like, wait, the game's over? What happened? Unbelievable. I can't believe the Knicks won. Like, absolutely ecstatic. This is awesome. This is a great thing. I'm going to be honest. I think that we're good enough to get to the Eastern Conference Final. I definitely think so. I feel great about this. I'm pretty excited about it overall.
You still got to go through Indiana.
Listen, Indiana still got to finish. We got to finish getting through the Boston Celtics. I'm not going to count the Boston. The Boston Celtics this season were the best away team in basketball. So when they come to New York, by no means do I just assume that we win games. We also lose important games at home. So I expect this series, it's not going to be like a sweep or anything, right? There's a very good chance this series still goes to 6 or 7 games, but the New York Knickerbockers are up 2-0. Fantastic news. Like I was saying, we do have the the Oklahoma City Thunder game coming up here in a few minutes against the Denver Nuggets. We'll see what happens. I mean, we have the guy who they're calling the the likely MVP in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, SGA, on a very young Oklahoma City Thunder team, but that team is deep. They're well built. They have 68 wins on the season. But with that being said, the guy who I call the best player in the world, Nikola Jokic, Joker, is the leader of that team, and Westbrook has been playing awesome basketball, at least in game 1. So we're going to see where that goes. You know, pretty excited about it overall, but that is definitely a game to tune into if, of course, you are into basketball. Now, so I was just touching on how Indiana is 2-0. Going into the playoffs, they did a player poll. Okay, this is the best thing ever, right? They did a player poll, and the players of the NBA voted that Tyrese Halliburton, the leader of the Indiana Pacers, was the most overrated player in basketball. So they were literally chanting overrated at this guy. He gets the ball last second, hits the game winner from 3 in game 2. As Cavs fans are calling him overrated. Like, just unbelievable basketball that's been going on. Brunson was voted the clutch player of the year, but so far in the playoffs, besides Brunson, Halliburton has been Mr. Clutch himself. Indiana, and here's the thing: right now, the Cleveland Cavaliers are not fully healthy. So Darius Garland's been out. Evan Mobley didn't play in last game. So depending on what they have going on, it wouldn't be crazy to see the Cavs get swept.
Okay. Just to be fair, we're not going to go repeat from last year because your Knicks lost to the Indiana because you guys were injured. And now I'm not going to credit Indiana winning against Cleveland because they're injured.
Oh, no. Listen. Just so we're on the same page, I'm not one of those guys. I don't do this person was injured, that person was injured, that's why they lost. Oh, they shot bad that game. That's
no.
Right?
But no. But the Knicks fans are gonna be, if Knicks and Indiana meet up, they're gonna be like, "Oh, we were injured last year. We're not injured this year." They're gonna talk about last year.
Listen, that's okay. There are a lot of fans in sports that try and throw out this nonsense. Oh, well, they were injured. They this game they shot really bad. Like, mother, that's basketball. That's football. That's
Yeah.
baseball. Players get injured. You put together the best team you've got available and you go out and do your thing. That's it. You don't get to make an excuse about who was hurt because that's sports, right? Like, so I
Yeah.
don't believe in that. It happens all the time, but I don't believe in that. So for
Mhm.
me, you're not going to hear any excuses. As simple as this. Like, we win, we lose, It's been 41 years of living. I've never seen my Knicks win. So I'm pretty excited about what's going on right now, but I do like as a New York fan, the most nerve-wracking thing that I could imagine right now is the Eastern Conference Final against the Indiana Pacers.
Mhm.
Like that scares the life out of me. No question about it. That team is built for the playoffs. They do amazing in the playoffs. People are talking about like, wow, like people were talking like they were going to get swept or they're going to get their butts kicked by anybody. They were in the Eastern Conference Final last year for a reason. They're
Yeah.
back here and 2-0 against the best team in the East all season for a reason. They are
Mhm.
legit. There's whether it's Naismith, Nebhard, Siakam, Halliburton, that's a good team. And everyone on that team can shoot, and they've been doing their thing. So full credit to Indiana. Hopefully, if the Knicks and Indiana are playing each other, it's not going to be Reggie Miller on Basketball for TNT calling the shots, because that's the worst.
Yeah.
Like, the
Yeah.
last thing I want to hear is Reggie Miller talking about my Knicks, period. Right? So, got that basketball thing out of the way. Now, real quick on the hockey side of things, because we were in hockey and we kind of jumped ship because the New York Knicks just beat the Celtics 2 games in a row at home. Let's go. But now just looking at the conference, right? So we talked West, we talked some of the East, the Maple Leafs, right? And Florida. I want to see what the score on that game is. Actually, still 4-3, only 4.5 minutes left. What do you think about the Capitals and the Hurricanes?
I think the Canes got them. I just don't know how they got them. I think the Capitals are just gonna. I thought Capitals were, but they played a very tough series against Montreal, and they got beat up by Montreal. And I think the Canes are just a lot more skilled.
Like,
And it's
the easiest way I could describe it, right? In watching game one, right? The Caps put up 1 goal very early, but from
mhm,
that point on, it seemed like the Canes had them figured out.
yeah,
Right? It just like the Canes had puck control for the majority of the game. The Canes took a million shots. Like, I mean, honestly, Logan Thompson played his butt off to only give up 2 goals in that game because they were ripping shots on him all night. But
but
I
that's the
picked the
thing is
Capitals.
the Carolina is like it's slow hockey. They'll let the first inning and a half. They'll let you guide the game, and then the last half they will pick it up.
Cove's been watching too much baseball, as you guys can tell, because he just called a hockey period an inning. Don't worry, happens all the time. Dude, I did pick them like originally. I picked the Caps to win, but just from what I saw on or yesterday night, I don't know. Like I said, it just feels like the Canes got them figured out. The Canes and you, like you said, they slow the game down, right? They
Yeah,
keep puck control heavy. Their passing is great, and they just keep firing on the goal, right? I don't know how many like Thompson only gave up 2 goals in that game. I don't know that he can keep that pace.
yeah.
There's no other way to say it. Like, They need
But remember last
a
week,
hat trick next game.
when I was talking about it, I was like, I got the Canes and I got the Panthers. Now the Panthers are surprising me by possibly blowing the first two games, but I have faith in the Panthers to come back into Florida and Bob Rossi taking a breather, taking a day off, and then bringing it back up. So I don't count the Panthers out at all.
Dude, I don't know. I mean, they're a hard team to count out, right?
Mhm.
Here's my thing though. Okay, so let's say, let me just, let me look at the update here on the game. It's still 4-3, less than 4 minutes to play. Let's say they lose today. Do you feel like
Mhm.
Florida can come back from 2-0?
Oh yeah.
No hesitation.
Like I said, give Bobrovsky a day off. Get his. Because remember last year they had the 3-0 lead in the finals, and then they lost game 4, game 5, game 6, and then Bobrovsky got his head out of his ass, and they came back to win game 7. So you can't count them out. So
So
I
what?
watched them lose 3 last year and almost game 7 last year. So almost losing the Stanley Cup Finals, and they came back to win it. So it's like you can't count them out. This team has went to game sevens multiple times and have excelled. Like this
So do
team,
you
Florida is built to go 7, but Toronto was not.
so do you think this will be a 7-game series?
Depending on how the outcome comes, if all of a sudden the Leafs take a 3-0 lead, then that'll be different. But if Florida comes back and makes this 2-2, then yes, I feel like this could go a 7-game series.
I think I don't see the Canes and the Caps. I don't see going 7 games. I don't know. I mean, once I see Vegas and the Oilers play game 2, I'll have a better feel for the series. The
No, I
Jets
feel
and the
the
Stars.
Canes. The Canes, I feel like can win in 5. Canes can win in 5. Florida could win in 7. Jets and Dallas, I feel like this is going to go 6.
I 6
And the
maybe.
Vegas series, because I feel the Vegas series is going to go 6.
That's I kind of feel like that too, and that's why I thought it would be 4-2 Vegas, and I that's still what I'm praying on. Um, you know, that first game just it went from 2-0 to 2-2 real quick, and then from 2-2 to 4-2 in like 0.2 seconds. I was
Yeah.
I just Vegas. Here's I don't know what the answer is. Vegas has been up and down all season. I would have been more confident if we had won the first game, right? Because Vegas is doing a lot of this, right? So losing that first game kind of puts us in the hole, I feel like, but we're going to see, we're going to see. It's definitely, it could go either way. I still think my Golden Knights are good enough to do it. So there was something that you touched on, right? The experience between Stone and Eichel, the experience there alone, Aiden Hill. I think that the dark horse is going to be Samsonov in goal, right? Because we need to be able to play Hill and Samsonov, really. That's just, that's been our recipe all season. So I think that we need him to be really strong in this series. But, we're going to see what happens. We're definitely going to see what happens. There's no question about that. All right. So
Now before you go on the baseball, did you see the draft and who got the number 1 for NHL?
no, I did not.
The New York Islanders got the number 1 draft pick.
Wow. So for those that don't know, I'm a New York guy originally. I was never a Rangers fan. I grew up as a New York Islanders fan. I actually like to joke that I'm the curse of the Islanders, right? They won their last Stanley Cup 4 months before I was born. They never won again. That's always been like kind of my joke. Just in moving to Vegas over time, the Golden Knights kind of took my heart, and I cheer hard for them. But the Islanders will always be that like number 2 spot for me, no question about it. So it's exciting. Now with the number 1 pick, Who is the guy coming out this year?
I think it's a defenseman. I haven't really looked at it, but they said that they were looking at a defenseman being the number one draft pick.
That'd be interesting. We'll have to look into that for next week for sure. We can talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, as you
Guys,
look at the rankings, and the quick is Noah Dobson, who actually is an Islander, who actually is from Summerside, where I live, actually got named Team Canada captain.
Team
So like,
Canada captain. Okay.
so basically the Islanders took the show this week on being named team captain and also winning the number one draft pick.
Oh, and you know what? Before we transition into baseball to kind of call it a day, for those folks who are NBA fans, Monday night, I believe it is, will be the 12th. That is the draft lottery, the Cooper Cup, Cooper Cup, the Cooper Flag Lottery, as they're calling it. So we'll see what happens there, which team he goes to. Still going to be interesting. There's a lot of movement that could happen between now and then, but we'll see what happens. I'm pretty excited about it. I will be watching that. The NBA has gotten a hold of me this year for sure because I've got New York Knickerbockers fever. And then just last quick update. There's about 20 seconds left in the game. The Maple Leafs still control 4-3. So it looks like the Maple Leafs are about to go up 4-3 or 2-0 in the series, I should say. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens from there. All right. So real quick on the baseball side of things, before we jump into any questions and things that we're directing, the Mets continue to cruise today. They're 24-14. They crushed the Diamondbacks 7-1 today. The Reds are beating the Braves right now 4-3 in the bottom of the ninth. The Orioles are losing to the Twins 2-5. Your Kansas City Royals are playing your Chicago White Sox. It's the top of the ninth. It's 2-1 Kansas City. The Rockies are actually winning a game right now against the Detroit Tigers. I'm in shock. So the Guardians won today, as expected, against the Nationals. The Astros beat the Brewers. The Cardinals blanked the Pirates today, 5-0. The Giants beat the Cubs. The Giants continue to cruise. They're 24-14. The Mariners beat the A's. The Dodgers absolutely assaulted the Marlins today. They won 10-1. They continue cruising. They're 25-12. Unbelievable. The Red Sox are 19-19, and they beat the Rangers today. And the Phillies blanked the Rays 7-0. My Yanks are tied 3-all. It's the top of the ninth. We'll see what happens there. I'm obviously nervous who wouldn't be nervous? Okay, we got out of the inning. So it's up to the Yankees now to put this away. We're 20-16. Today would be a great day to move to 21-16, 100% of the time. So we'll see what happens there. And so to kind of jump into our weekly questions, and this just helps to kind of guide us, guys. So can Detroit sustain their AL dominance? What do you think? They're losing right now to the Rockies, which it happens. So, I can't talk badly about them, but.
No, they can. They can continue the dominance, but as we were talking, and yes, I am wearing KC. The KC game's going on right now. Now, KC, if they can get this win, KC, yes, they were 8-14. They were 8-14, but they have now won 12 of the last 14 games. So we got KC versus Detroit coming up this weekend. So KC could slide right into the top of the AL Central if they take 2 out of 3 out of Detroit.
So the AL Central, for those that don't know, it's an extremely tight division right now. The Guardians have 22 wins. The only reason they're behind the Tigers is because they played 2 more games than them, and they've lost 2 of those games. The Tigers are 22-13, and then as Coves was saying, Kansas City Royals are 21-16. So it's definitely a possibility that they could get caught slipping. The big surprises to me in the conference are in the In the AL West, the Seattle Mariners stand at 22-14 right now, and the Athletics already have 20 wins this season, which, as a baseball fan, you'll love to see the Athletics, the displaced Athletics doing so well. So it's definitely been cool. Here's my question for you before we jump to Aaron Judge here. What are the Mariners doing so well?
I think they finally figured out how to not really play ball, but I think their pitching rotation has kind of like figured itself out. Their batting has always been there, but their rotation's been just kind of eh. And I think the rotation has finally figured out how to get those wins.
They just won their 9th straight game, right? So
Yeah.
they're basically they're almost the number 1 seed in that conference right now in the AL altogether. They're about a game out from, excuse me, I can hardly talk, from the Detroit Tigers, but they've looked awesome. They came back from 5 runs against the Oakland A's in their last game, which was pretty awesome. And the A's, I give them the most credit because the team, they've made some good moves in the offseason. The team doesn't have a real home. They're playing in like a AAA park in Sacramento at the moment, waiting for their move, which is no time soon, to Las Vegas, and they continue to win. So, they're pretty awesome to see. All right. So Aaron Judge is off to a remarkable start, leading the AL with a batting average of .412, OPS 1.275, and 34 ribbies. But the Yankees face pitching challenges. And trust me, I know that better than anybody. Can Judge's performance offset and keep the team competitive? It's almost impossible for me to say no, right? And then you have guys like Goldschmidt batting 350 plus. I think the Yankees offense, as always, has made them more competitive.
Yeah, their offense made them competitive, but as being a Yankees fan, that rotation can kill a game in 2 seconds.
Well, right. So we might say we get a 1-run 5-inning outing by Rodon, right? And then Leiter comes in and gives up 4 runs, and we're like, oh, what happened? And this is the kind of thing that happens. Yankees baseball is stressful because as Yankees fans, we expect to always be in first place. And I think we only have a game cushion right now. Like I was saying, the Red Sox have 19 wins themselves. They're right there. So it's definitely not like a comfortable area that we're in. The Red Sox have been playing good baseball. They're a 500 team. But I don't think we have too much to worry about outside of the Red Sox. But again, I don't want us to be a wild card team. I'm a Yankees fan. I want to see us in first place all season.
Yeah.
And remember, my hot take for the year, my man Judge is going to have a plus 500 on base percentage when this season ends. Bookmark it, baby. That's all I'm saying. And that's mainly because he's hitting so well that they're going to start, they're going to be walking the sky all season. So just one of those things. So the Cubs, right? The Cubs were playing good for a minute there. They've had some real trouble in recent weeks. Is their bullpen a sign of bigger woes to come? What do you think about that, Cove?
It is. And I mean, we had our guy who was praising the Cubs for having one of their best starts and blah, blah, blah. And I've been telling him all season, I'm like, you might know Bell, but the Cubs are going to fall. The Cubs are going to eventually become average because people are going to figure them out. And I think people have been figuring them out. Cubs came off hot and they were doing well. They beat Dodgers, they beat certain teams, but then now I think it's just everybody's figuring them out. And they only have 1 or 2 guys that are really being really dominant, while everybody else is playing average.
So they're still in first place, right? They are 22-16 or something like that. 22-15. They've lost 3 of their last 4 games. They lost 2. They lost the series to the Giants as expected. Their next game is at Citi Field against the New York Mets, the red hot New York Mets. I expect them to lose that series too, if I'm being completely honest.
Yeah,
So
like I said, they're starting to play really competitive teams, and they're gonna really show if they can sustain it. And I just, like I said, by June, the Cubs are not going to be this dominant. The Cubs are going to be a mid 500 team by July.
well, you know what? You know who I think is like the biggest threat to them in that division, which is kind of interesting. I wouldn't have thought I'd be saying this. The St. Louis Cardinals.
Yeah. Yes.
Donovan is batting great. Contreras is playing really good baseball as well. So they're getting good production out of these guys. It's for me seeing them. They're a 500 team right there. I believe they're 19-19 right now. You know, it's tough to say where this team goes, but like Sonny Gray is 4-1 on the season right now. He's kind of leading the way for those guys. Liberatore is pitching decent. He's won 3, he's lost 3, but I fully believe in St. Louis Cardinal baseball is like a real thing. Just like the Chicago Cubs, but
Yeah.
I think that the Brewers or the Cardinals, if I had to put a bet on it, I think the Cardinals are going to win that division. What do you think?
And it officially just happened. The KC won, and they have a 14-5 record at home right now.
Massive. That's really awesome. That's really good. There's not too much I can say about that. The Yankees are still playing. They're going into the 10th inning, 3-all. Dude, 14. So the Yankees are 12-8.
But yes,
is the best record at home.
I have the Cardinals being the sneaky team. I was saying it all this season as we kept going weeks and weeks on my show, your show. I think the Cardinals are going to be they're going to be a deep threat come July, August.
The Cardinals are 15-6 at home.
Yeah.
Take note of that. So if you're a Cubs fan, don't think you guys got an easy road at all.
No.
Appreciate you joining us, Leo. Appreciate that a lot. Thanks for stopping by. But yeah, like when it comes to the Cardinals, that's a sneaky good team, and their home record says so. They got to get it together on the road, but that's definitely a team that I could see causing some ruckus down the road. So let's see what we got. MLB's 2025 rule changes, stricter penalties for infield shift violations, expanded replay reviews, aim to enhance gameplay. How do you feel these adjustments are affecting team strategies and game outcomes thus far for the first half of the season?
Well, and different ones, like just quickly on it, like the pitch count, I think people have adjusted to it. I think the line shift, people have adjusted to it. It's helped left-handed hitters way better. So I think everybody's adjusting to it. So I think the reality is everybody's just adjusting to these new rules. And I was skeptical in the last few years about a lot of these changes, but as I watch games every night, the game hasn't changed for me. Just the rules have.
The one thing I've noticed this season, and I could be crazy, but it seems like teams are scoring a lot more runs, right? Like there's been a lot of games where there have been a lot of 10-plus run games by teams across the board this season. There have been several 20-plus games.
Yeah, but if you think about 3-4 years ago when they didn't have this pitch count, you could have a pitcher who would sit there for 5 minutes just throwing every 45 seconds, like slowing it down. And when you slow it down, the batter gets antsy. And he might swing too fast. He might swing too slow. But now it's all timed. So I think it doesn't give the chance for like the pitchers to slow down, which is a faster ball, and the batters aren't taking their time. They're up there for 5 minutes waiting for all these like an 18 hit, you know, at bat. So I think it's faster and it's stronger because the guys are going to be able to hit better because they're not getting as tired by just sitting in the box too long.
Think I like what I've seen so far. Because like, and I don't know if it's just the rule changes or what, but like I said, it seems like the game's moving faster. A lot more runs are being scored. Batting averages are up. I don't want like no offense to baseball purists but I like when I'm watching a lot of batters who are batting 340, 350. Like I don't want to hear about the best guy on the field is batting 279. Like to me, that's crazy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
No,
saying? So like,
well, like I just watched this game here where as I'm watching the KC game, it only did 2-1.
yeah, I mean, listen, and don't
So
get me wrong,
there
some
are
games are still
competitive
going to be
games.
that way.
There still is competitive games depending on
Yeah,
who's pitching. It comes down to who's on the mound.
that's a fact. And I definitely don't feel like it's hurt the pitcher at all. I just feel like
No.
it's kind of leveled it a little bit because like when you're the one controlling the situation and waiting on that pitch, right? And you're calm, but the batter, like you said, they're getting a little antsy. The batter wants to get into it. So for me, I like what I'm seeing with that. I just wanted to point out the score right now in the first quarter of the Thunder Nuggets game is 34-13 Thunder. So looks like the Thunder may have figured it out. We'll see what happens there. But overall, I'm definitely a fan of what I've seen so far in the MLB. I'm excited to see more of it. You know what hasn't come up in the last couple of weeks, and I'm glad because it really wasn't that big of a deal. Torpedo bats. Nobody's talking the torpedo bat anymore, right? Now they're spreading through the league.
They've kind of
People are
flaked
using
out.
them.
They kind of flaked out.
Yeah,
Like
like there are people
they
using
were a
them.
fad for a minute, and now it's just like it hasn't changed the game. People are like,
That's
"Oh,
what I'm
these
saying.
torpedo
Like
bats, they're gonna
people were
change the
acting
game.
like
They're
it was
gonna keep."
easier. And for me, it definitely didn't make the game any easier. Some players have benefited from using it, but it's just enhanced their swing, and I have no problem with that. So, but listen, guys, it's about that time of night. It's time to put Vinny's daughter to bed. O'clock. It's 7 p.m. And as always, guys, just want to say thank you guys for tuning into Vinny's Corner. And go New York. The Knicks win. Cove, what day this week? Are you doing Friday, Saturday, tomorrow? I know Cove's going to have a podcast going live also focused on Major League Baseball, of course. What's going on with that, Cove?
It looks like. Well, I know Drama's gonna he can do tomorrow night. You said Friday, and we're just waiting to see what Thomas is doing. So I might do a double header. But I might do a Thursday and a Friday night show.
Excellent. So, guys, you may catch me with Cove in what I'm calling Cove's Corner. No, what's the name of it?
Between the Strikes.
Between the Strikes. That's the name of Cove's podcast. And he'll be looking to possibly do a double header between Thursday and Friday this week. So definitely check out Cove Blue at Cove Blue on X. And, of course, at Vin Casado 1. And you can also check out I have Vinny's Corner. And starting this week, Vinny's Corner episodes will be available on Spotify. And we'll be coming to you very soon on Apple Podcasts as well. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Have a safe night. We'll talk to you next week.